So what's your philosophy? This can mean a lot of different things. I think there's really two things that matter. One, what's your philosophy on training? What's your philosophy on healthcare? What's your philosophy on what are you here to do? Right? We're not here to count to 20. We're not here to make someone sweat. That's my opinion. So what are we here to do? Right? Why do we care so much about what we're doing? Why do we care about training? Why do we care about allowing someone to learn how to stabilize their shoulders? Like, who the fuck cares? Like, right? There's got to be a reason. Like, there's got to be something inside of us that's like burning about something. So when we actually tap into that, that's our philosophy. That's our philosophy on that aspect of things in terms of what we're here to do in terms of our work, our service. Second to that is the philosophy on corporate culture. What kind of work environment is for me? What's my philosophy on life? Someone working for me who doesn't believe that work-life balance is possible won't have a good time, because I'm constantly telling them to go in the forest. I'm constantly telling them to eat well. I'm not actually, but I would be constantly telling them that. But when we're philosophically aligned, they're naturally doing that. They're telling me, I think I want to take Fridays off. I'm going to move my clients from Friday on to Thursday. It's already cool with them because I want a 3-day weekend because it's good for my health. Right? I have two choices as an employer in that situation. How I was taught, which is, who do you think you are? You need to work 5 days, 6 days a week where we're open every day, right? Which is the coming down with the hammer. Or it's, hey, your health is my best asset. I'm so happy you have enough self-awareness to know what you need in order to work at your best. And when you work at your best, our clients are happy. They're getting their results that much faster, and we're changing the world that much more efficiently. Awesome. Have a great Friday. Until it ends up being a Tuesday. Or moving it, being able to mold with people's lifestyles. So what are your philosophies on those two things? What are you here to do in terms of your service to others? Some philosophies might be, at first, very physical. Do you believe in functional movement? Or do you believe in CrossFit? Or do you believe in Olympic lifting? Do you believe that squats cure cancer? Do you believe in bodybuilding? Do you believe in yoga? What do you believe in? What's your method? What's the vessel that you teach this? And none of them are better. One is not better than the other. They're all neutral to me. It depends on what you want. That's what matters. I don't know why it's not working. Here we go. So that's one area that you can start is, what's your method? What do you want to take clients through? What lights you up? What's your thing? Second to that, of course, is what are you here to do? Why do you do what you do? Why does it matter? So I want you to draw a line down your paper, and we're going to have service at the top, and then we're going to have work. So service is that, what are you here to do? Why are you on earth? What's your passion? Why does it matter to you? What are you trying to accomplish with clients? And if you're having a hard time thinking about that, when you light up, when a client does what? When you're like, oh my God, you just did this thing. When you're just like beaming from ear to ear. What is that? What did they actually just do? Because it can't be that they just repaired their rotator cuff. Who gives a fuck? There's something there. Like, you got excited about them repairing their rotator cuff for what? Why? So that's the left-hand side. The right-hand side is, how do you function in terms of a work environment? What do you need? Look at we're all old enough here to have had some previous experiences. What's worked and what hasn't? What do you like? What don't you like? You got 10 minutes. I'm just going to write some other just prompts for you to help you on the work side. It's kind of like writing out what you want in a partner, a life partner. But you think about it, those are two very similar things. Like, you're going to work more in your life than you do anything else. So yeah, you want to map this shit out. Do you need mentorship, learning, growth, security, consistency, friendliness? Does it need to be a welcoming environment? Do you need to feel like you belong? Professionalism, mission-driven, belief in who I work for, passion. Or, not even or, but maybe and, do you need autonomy? Do you need to be independent? What about creativeness? Creativity? What about having a say? What about leadership? You want to be in a leadership position. What about beautiful design? I want to walk into my work environment, I want to be inspired. Or I want to be inspired by the people around me. What about the tools you need? What kind of equipment do you need in order to roll out your mission as a person of service? Technology. Life philosophy. Does your life philosophy match up with the person at the helm of where you work? How many times have you guys reflected on this? Sometimes never. Maybe we're in a place where, oh yeah, baby, I'm all about this right now. But this is so important. This is our life, you know? So sometimes we get pulled in a direction, we end up working in a place because it's convenient, or because we know the person who works there, or it just happened, I don't know. But sometimes it's nice to wake up and just analyze this. Be like, regardless of where I am right now, what do I need? It's almost like doing this when you're in a relationship. It can be kind of scary, right? It's like, what do I need in a partner? Well, ooh, I'm nervous because I'm with someone right now and I want to be with them. But hold on, put them aside for a second. What do you need in a partner? What do you need in a work environment? Because at the end of the day, if those things match up, freaking hallelujah. If you write all these things down and you look at where you're working and you're like, oh my God, I'm actually there. I'm working for the right person. I'm doing the right thing. Think about how much energy that's going to give you. But conversely, imagine if you were like, oh my God, that's why I'm having so much anxiety going into work. Oh my God, that's why that person and I don't get along. There's something there. That's why I'm feeling unhappy right now, right? Then it gives you reason and you understand why you're feeling the way you're feeling. It's very validating, but what also gives you is power to make a change and to seek out exactly what you're looking for. That way it doesn't become about what's the cheapest rent, but where you're philosophically aligned. Because you're going to make more money in a philosophically aligned situation than always looking for the cheapest whatever. So this, I encourage you to spend a lot of time on this. You know, go camping and get rid of the social media, like go into a cabin and just like really pour over this, because this is the ticket. This is the golden ticket, really figuring this out for yourself. Does anyone have anything on the service side that you'd like to share? What are you guys here to do? I would love to hear it. Yeah.
I would love to do for others what Caveman Strong did for me 5 years ago, and that's just like changed my life completely. They made me more confident in myself and my body. Just learning so much from them, and just wanting to have that feeling of helping others.
Awesome. Cool. Who else? Yeah.
This girl can go first.
I wrote a bunch of stuff down, and I was like, it was like to help, inspire, motivate, strengthen, build confidence. But then I was like, well, like, where do I start from there? So I brought it back to me. Like, what am I here to do? I'm here to be the best that I can be, to inspire others to be the best they can be through the things that I'm going to teach them from coming to me. So I wrote a bunch of stuff, and then I came back to that one spot of what do I need to do
Yep.
so that other people get inspired by that.
So what I heard in there, Joelle, what you had said is, I want to empower other people, like I was empowered. And Tracy, what I hear when you say that is, I want to help others be the best by being a role model of being my best. So practicing what I'm preaching, and through that, giving people tools to do that as well. Awesome. Who else?
This reflects my lifestyle in my method of training. So
What was the first word you said? Refine?
Reflect.
Reflect. Okay. Reflect.
So it's not just what they, it's kind of everything in between to help inspire them to go even further. So it goes into empowerment still, but I know it's kind of different. It's kind of like tidbits that there's more. There's always more. There's always more to get. And once you think you've accomplished something, then if you're seeking more, then there is. It's available.
Right.
And you know it's there.
So it's almost like limitless possibilities. Always showing people that there's no glass ceiling. There's always something. Growth. The next step. Challenge. Do you find that you like giving people challenge? That's what that is?
Challenging them, but also because you know some clients they come just to do what they need to do and then they go. But some are like, okay, what's after this? So it's catering to them as well.
Okay.
Which goes into empowerment really.
Yep. So what do you think you're here on Earth to do? Why you?
Why me? Well, I feel like others are interested in what I do in my personal life, and so how do I transmit that to them? And that's through personal training, group class fitness.
So how are you different in your personal life than other people?
I think it's how happy I am. I'm passionate about what I do.
And are you passionate about your life?
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's what it is. That's why people are drawn to you, because people aren't happy. And so they want to do whatever the heck you're doing, because I want that Kool-Aid. I want to smile at cows. I want to like walk down the street with a grin on my face, right? That's a nice life. So it sounds like you're showing them how to live a happy life through the vessel of group training and all the things that you're doing through your work. I'll just say fulfilled instead of happy. Cool. Who else?
I can help.
Yeah.
Mine's kind of a little bit more focused. I really love women, and I really want to help them develop the self-awareness so that they can take the power back to take responsibility for their health and fitness and realize all that they can do.
Cool.
After you have kids and stuff, you just give so much away and help them gather it back.
Awesome. Cool. Anyone else?
Well, what I first wrote down that excites me, you said what excites you, is when I see my students or clients surprise themselves with something novel that I've thrown at them. They're like, oh, I can do that crazy thing. And then I help them do and figure it out. But I think that, and I wrote a bunch of stuff about that, and shifting mindset to possibilities and what you can do versus what you can't do. But I think it all comes down to creativity for me.
Totally, yeah.
And because of a lot of the stuff that I study and teach, I know that creativity only happens when you feel safe. So there's a little, I'm still trying to work it out with my wording, but
Yeah.
bringing creativity to support safety and creating that sense of I got you, and you can try something new and exciting and try as well.
Awesome. So this is huge because when you are able to know that, and let's say you're looking for the next career move, like what's next, or where am I going to take this group of women, or whoever I'm going to work with, safety is really important to you. It's like the vibe of a place is going to matter to you because you need to create a safe environment so those people can actually play, which is funny, but in our society, play is very scary, right? You're not going to tell me how to move. I have to like do it from, what do you mean my intuition, right? People are very scared about that. Great. One more.
What I want to do is I want to make sure that, so from the young kids in sport that I played in when my kids are older now, but I just had a brand new one 3 weeks ago.
Congrats.
So it got me thinking that I wanted to see it through, so that the things I wasn't able to do with my older kids that I know now, the knowledge I have now, and what I see happening in starting them young. It goes all the way through to make sure that, whatever their goals are, and it might not be, professional or whatever, but I just want to make sure that as a whole, the team that they're on, because I was telling Tash that maybe he's going to play the piano, but he's probably not going to play the piano. He's probably going to be an athlete just like his mother and his father were, right? So anyway, what I want to see them do is I want to see them from the beginning to the end, right? Because I look back on my kids from the beginning to the end, and I don't know if I could have done better. But what I want to do is make sure that happens this time, and not only with my son, with all the the youth that are coming up.
And so, what is it do you think will be the outcome of that? So, what's the purpose of that for you?
I think that if they're taught young to be healthy all the way through, and use the sport as I mean, playing sports all my life, and anyone here can attest to that. It's a social thing, but not only to be there, but to be there healthy all the way up through.
Cool. So what I hear, and tell me if I'm wrong, is sustainability and longevity. Like if you build the habits and build the basics young, that you're giving them a head start on life.
Exactly.
That they can take all of this into their whole life to their last day.
Yeah,
and then
socially, physically, mentally, right? Start young. I think that's where I want to help.
awesome. That's amazing. Like, that's your mission. And hey, maybe you'll work on the wording a little bit, or you'll go home and the sentence will come to you, or maybe it'll take you a while. It took me a long time to get my mission sorted out, my personal mission, because I think, for my business, that's always been my priority to, what are we here to do as a group, and what are we doing as a company, and all that kind of stuff. But in terms of who I was particularly serving, who my clients were, and what I was here on earth to do, for a very long time, I thought that I'm here to create an environment that will bring awesome people who are mission driven to roll out their mission in life that is philosophically aligned with mine. But then, of course, I thought I was sort of being a mother in the sense that, well, I don't know what I like, but my kids, I have it all sorted out, right? And then I had to figure out, oh shit, what about me? Like, what about my clients? What am I here to do outside of that? And so it took like a year, maybe a year and a half, 2 years to really come up with the thing for me. And I was driving to meet a friend for coffee, and the sentence came to me, and I was like, oh, that's it. I'll share with you what that is. But my mission is to instill daily life practices into the lives of extraordinary people changing the world. For me, I remove health, biochemical, movement challenges from people who are disruptors, who are here to change humanity. So I work with high-level CEOs, I work with professional athletes, I work with people of influence and power, whereby if I can take this amazing human being who's changing our humanity for the better, and I remove their migraines, and I remove their clicky hip, and I help them sleep at night, and I get them to think that they're awesome, and I help them with their family and their relationships, whoa, we're gonna change the world. So that's my mission. And so right now I deal exclusively with entrepreneurs. I have a female entrepreneur who's fantastic. I've got a high-level CEO of a tech company in Ottawa. I've got the best hair transplant surgeon in the world who's helping men regain their confidence. And not only that, but he's got a lot of property and restaurants, and he's very mission-driven himself. So that's who I serve. What that does is it completely focuses you. So it's so easy to make a decision. Client comes to you at a coffee shop. Oh, I'd like to work with you. In my mind, I think, well, there's some criteria. Are you an entrepreneur? Are you a person of influence? Do you have high impact? If they're not, I send them to my friend. It's not for me, right? Or I send them to the person who's meant to work with them. Someone comes up to me and says, I have an opportunity for you. Let's expand the business. I can invest money. I can do this. You can work for me, blah, blah, blah. Once I'm set on my work, right? I know exactly what I want for my work environment. I know who I want to work with. It's a very easy yes or no. all of a sudden, all the pressure and noise in your life, all these options you have, all these opportunities, all these like, oh, I could do all these things. Because that's our problem, right? We have too many options and we're not centered or focused on what we actually want. It's a huge distraction. We're always going through existential crises. Am I where I'm supposed to be? Where should I travel? Should I go on a yacht? Should I teach fitness on a cruise ship? Like, there's so many freaking options. So when you're focused and zero in on those two things, everything changes. And you get very monk-like. You get very at peace with what you're doing. And that is the challenge of an unregulated industry. It's almost too wide, it's almost too big, especially if you get into other aspects, whether it's yoga or you add in other certifications like FST, or let's say you become an RHN, or you get involved in other aspects of the industry. Then all of a sudden you're running around with your head cut off doing FST sessions and working with groups and then with one-on-one, and then you're helping weight loss clients and you're adding, you're selling, orthotics out of the back seat of your trunk. Like, it's so confusing. What are you doing, But if it all made sense, you're like, oh yeah, every single product I sell is for a reason. Every single person I work with is for a reason. Every place I work with is for a reason. It all is part of the master plan of my mission, what I'm here to do. Not only are you focused, you're probably going to make a lot of money because you're focused and because you're going to make yes or no decisions very quickly, and you're going to feel fulfilled. And is that not what we want? I would argue yes. Okay. Now, I want to help you figure out, okay, let's do a show of hands. Who is very clear on, I know what I'm here to do, I know where I'm going as a trainer, I know what my career step is, I'm pretty certain? Put your hand up. Awesome. Everyone else has got a lot of options you're trying to piece through. Yeah? Okay. So I'm going to give you a really simple exercise, a little task to help narrow some things down. And even Kevin, even though you're certain, this is still a good exercise for you. What's that? Almost? Okay, there's a little bit to work with. Okay. So on the left-hand side of your paper, you're going to write down the title, What Breaks Your Heart? Or you'll say, what breaks my heart? On the right-hand side of the paper, you're going to write, what I'm envious of. These are two very important questions that will clarify a lot for you. And through these triggers that we have as human beings, we are given a lot of information. Instagram's great with this. You can break your heart and be envious all within a microsecond. So what breaks your heart is who you're meant to serve. Those are the people, those are the causes. That is where you need to go. And you might sit and think, well, poverty and children who are starving breaks everyone's heart. Not necessarily. They could feel terrible about it, but they're not getting on a friggin' plane to Nicaragua, I'm going to do something about it. What breaks your heart? When you meet with a client and they've been telling you, I've been 250 pounds my whole life, I've been bullied, I feel like shit, I am on antidepressants, I almost killed myself 3 times, I need to change. If you're like, I have to help you, that breaks your freaking heart. If you see women who are not in control of their lives, who are feeling like they're at the mercy of the conventional medical system, that they're in an awful relationship, that they don't have good relationships with their spouse or their children, that breaks your heart. So what breaks your heart? Write down a bunch of stuff. Take indications from recent experiences. And try to narrow it down. What gender, what age, what issue, what problem, what symptom? we doing? Good? A lot of heartbreaking going on? Okay, on that right-hand side of the paper, which is what you're envious of, that's what you're meant to do. So if we can think of jealousy and envy as actually an indication of, oh, I'm meant to do. There's some element of that that I'm looking at, that I'm meant to be and meant to do. That's why I'm feeling this way. There could be someone on Instagram you scroll through and maybe they just met Michelle Obama. Someone else just scrolls through that and you're like, ugh, I hate her for meeting her because that's how I'm supposed to meet. That's an indication. You write that shit down. You don't hate the person in the photo. Hey, that's a big shift. So what if envy is just an indication of what we're meant to do? Right? Seeing it as a gift given to you. You didn't know what you were meant to do. Here it is. So what in that photo, what in that experience that you've had where you felt that jealousy, where you felt that envy, that was a trigger for you about what your next step is? And it might be very symbolic. Maybe you feel that envy and it's more of an essence. You get this essence from someone that they're confident or that they're secure or that they're empowered or that maybe it's not the Ferrari in the photo with them, but the fact that, man, you know what? I want that freedom. I want to go down the friggin' highway with the top down and the friggin' expensive. Like, I want that. Is it the car? Probably not. It's likely not the car. It's the feeling of the car. So write down who, what are you envious of? What are the things that you're just like, that gets me? Let's write those down. Is anyone brave enough to share any of those two things? All right.
I'll start with what breaks my heart. Is the obesity epidemic. Really breaks my heart. What I'm envious of is my father's ability to accomplish large tasks over small blocks of time, and his ability of diplomacy.
Okay, cool. That's great. Very specific. That's awesome. Anybody else? Anyone have the courage? Okay.
I've got two that I wrote down for what breaks my heart, but I think they're like more like personal things, like maybe something that I experienced. Just one of them was young kids not having a mentor or a positive role model, and the other one is just feeling like you were coasting in life. Days are just blending in. These are things I've experienced. So,
yeah, no.
One I'm envious of, the only thing I can think of is like hiking. Like, I like to hike, but when I see photos of people like hiking or traveling in like exotic locations, I'm just like, damn, like, I want to be there. So that's the only thing that came to mind.
Okay, so the symbol of that is like adventure, exploration, you know, charting new territory, making my own path, you know, so that's like what you're meant to do. And so maybe it's not going to Peru or going to Bolivia, but maybe it's like, where in my life right now currently, as in like I got another 8 hours until I go to bed, can I get more freedom, more exploration, do things differently, be more creative, you know, and get inspired. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Anyone else?
I have one.
Okay.
It's kind of similar to his, but it's seeing young athletes that have talent and heart, but there's no support from the people around them.
Yep.
And then the other thing is seeing young athletes with talent but no heart, and then a shitty attitude. Same thing, they have no way around it to push them.
Yep.
And then what I'm envious of is seeing people achieve extraordinary success without putting in any work.
Interesting. Well, seemingly no work, or
Yes,
okay. What could
effortlessly, I guess, right?
what could we
Not
take
a
from
lot
that?
of effort to get success.
Okay, I would suggest the symbolism there is when you're in your zone of genius and you're in tune with yourself, it's kind of that belief of like work's got to be hard. Or you ever hear like relationships are hard, you know, like things are tough. It's like a self-limiting belief, right? What if the belief actually deep inside of you is, no, it's supposed to be easy. Like if I'm doing the right thing at the right time in the right way, it should be effortless. So maybe that's the craving. It's like, I don't want to suffer anymore. I don't want to like bang my head against a wall with people who are ungrateful or people who are not hearing me, or if I'm in the wrong place. You know, it should be easy. Cool. Awesome. Did this help, this exercise? Awesome. So similar to the last one, if you're kind of working on it still, like the best thing is when you're just in your regular life and these things come to you. You know, you hear a story and you're like, oh, that really kills me. Let's give me an indication. And these things change over time. You know, who I've worked with early in my career or not who I'm working with particularly now, things evolve and things change, and you're in different chapters of your life at different times. You're meant to do different things at different times of your life. You're meant to serve different people at different times of your life. So checking in with this is really key. It's not just it's not a forever thing. You discover it and then you have nothing to uncover. It's really a process. Okay. We're going to shift gears. Okay, we're going to talk about some facts. So we talked about this earlier about like the irony of the health and fitness industry as a whole, that corporate culture is corporate culture. You know, I'm a huge like feminist, and I'm a huge humanist, and you know the Me Too movement has really uncovered a lot of crap, a lot of stuff around, you know, women's issues and men's issues, and the idea of empowerment and power playing and repression and oppression and all of that. And you know, people get surprised when I say, oh, the health and fitness industry is terrible. It's misogynistic, it's competitive. Men are in this role and women are in this role. And it's damaging for both of them. And you know, when you look at, you know, who's owning the health and fitness space, it's 60-year-old white overweight men who are sitting at a boardroom trying to squeeze numbers. How much money can we make? What's the difference between that industry and the automotive industry? Between that industry and Donald Trump? I don't know. Not a heck of a lot. And I only know this because I've sat in those boardrooms with the players, with these people that you don't even know their name, you'll never know their name, making billions from the health and fitness industry, who are doing pop-up shops of bar fitness for women and seemingly doing all the right things, but at the end of the day, the model, the business model, you know, it's just all marketing that you're seeing. You're seeing empowerment, you're seeing helping women, you're seeing, you know, let's get every Canadian healthy. Oh, you know, these great commercials and stuff, but what is the difference between that industry and the pharmaceutical industry? I'm telling you, fuck all. There's no difference. There's no passion, there's no, we want to change humanity for the better. How do we be more eco-conscious? How do we help climate change? How do we empower people who've been oppressed? Even their philanthropy stuff is all, it's a show. It's a total show. And it's depressing. Especially when you get in this industry and you're like, you know, you're bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and you want to help change the world and you work your way up to be able to be in those meetings and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be a robot if I continue to be here. I'm a nameless, faceless number. Just looking at spreadsheets and cutting costs and, you know, moving in the direction of trends so we can make more money. It's really shitty. And the thing is the person at the top, that person, their weaknesses, their strengths are going to be reflected in the whole thing, all the way down. That's just the way businesses work. And I'm sure you can think of this, you know, think of yourself as a parent, think of yourself as a leader of your sports team. That leader's weaknesses and strengths are evident in every athlete, every employee in that space. And that makes it really challenging for business owners because we're met with ourselves, the worst of ourselves, all the time. It's just a mirror. Like, fuck, I hate that she does that because I freaking do that, right? So, you know, that's why, and this is really a very philosophical, and hippie, I'm not going to move that, part of me, which is like, where do you want to put your vote? Where do you want to work? What do you want to grow? What are you going to put effort into? You know, we talk about this with nutrition, and we talk about this with our money, right? Where do you want to put your dollar? Are you going to buy the chicken thighs on sale at Loblaws for $2.99 from the farm that's abusing animals and doesn't give a shit about your health? Or are you going to spend the extra fucking 50 cents to buy the antibiotic-free chicken from, God forbid, Whole Foods, but your vote counts? And it's growing. Like what stock are you investing in? And in terms of work, think about all that, your little generators. You're generating work, you're generating time, effort, focus, money, attention. You're putting that into a certain kind of clientele, a certain kind of company, a certain kind of way of doing things. What side of history do you want to be on? And health and fitness is not all created equal. And so that's something to like shock you and shake you a bit, but knowing that that is the case. And just opening your eyes up, you know, and the best thing to do is just get to know the person at the top. That's what you got to do. And if you'll never be met with that person's name, that's a sign. Who owns Movati? I don't know. I do, but you don't know. Right? And there's nothing wrong with those people, right? I want to be clear about this, and I want to be as diplomatic as possible to not skew you. If you believe in the mission of that company, if you believe in what they're doing, friggin' have at her. It's all good. You know, if there's aspects, obviously no one is perfect. Zero is perfect. So hey, if you're okay with, you know what, they're 50% right, and it's the 50% I'm willing to invest in. Great, do that, right? But I just want to stimulate you to think about these things. Because when you say you care about clients, knowing that wherever you're working and whatever your next step is in your career, it has an essence to it in terms of your clientele. The white 63-year-old man who's overweight and does not believe in anything that's going on in this industry is likely stimulating and is somehow backhandedly, energetically reinforcing the shit we're trying to run away from. The body shaming, you're not good enough, you're not adequate enough, you suck, you can't do this, you're always broken, I'm the only one that can fix you. You know, the codependent, shitty, toxic relationships that are very apparent in personal training and in the health and fitness industry in general. Which is, I'm depending on you for a paycheck, so I'm not gonna tell you what to do to help you get better, and I'm always gonna make you feel a little bit less than. And like, if you walk into a corporate facility, no one's gonna tell you that. No one's gonna be like, this is my game plan. I'm gonna condescend them until I'm just leeching money from them. No one is telling you that, right? But you feel a bit different in there. Things feel a little off. You feel like the ego of that trainer is just a little too big. You know, you don't feel quite encouraged. You feel a little blah. It's a little competitive. You know, I'm being looked at a bit too hard. I'm being objectified a bit too much. And that's what's happening, you know? Or do you want to be on the side of history where the essence and the energy of that changes, where it's about empowerment and total human optimization, and you're not broken, you're fine the way you are, you can live your whole life this way, but come with me if I can show you some tools, and we're two equal partners moving towards a common goal. I am not your parent, you're not going to whine to me, and I'm certainly not a sergeant, drill sergeant. I'm not going to chastise you and make you feel less than. I admire you that you walked in the door today and that we're going to work together. But just so you know, you made the step. You made the difference. I'm just a guide. And that's a very healthy partnership. And when you give all your secrets to the clients and you say, hey, you don't even need me, but guess what? If you want me, I'm here. And we're going to be co-creators and co-collaborators. And you give the empowerment, you let them keep their power. You don't take it from them. And when they try to give you their power by complaining about their boss at work or saying, I don't know why I ate the whole birthday cake, but I did, you have choices every time those things come up. Every time someone can't do a handstand, every time someone, you know, his calf's too tight and they're frustrated as hell about it. You have choices as a coach in those moments where you can say, well, it's because you're not stretching, you idiot. I told you. Or you say, okay, let's work on it. Here's some tools, here's some guidance, let's work on this. Or when someone's like not complying to something, like, you know, Joe Blow, who's like not drinking water and you told him 1,000,000 times, change your fucking method. They're not idiots. For some reason, it's a non-negotiable. They're not going to drink that water. Focus on something they will change. You as a coach have to mold and pivot. But we keep like busting heads against brick walls trying to get change from our clients. We're the problem. We've chosen something that they're unwilling to change. And that's okay.
It's so fascinating because a friend who's a psychologist, she said that in the medical industry, issues of compliance are always coming from the patient.
Right.
But in the psychology industry, issues of compliance are coming out of the psychologist. Okay, so I've got to change my mind.
Totally. 100%. Absolutely. It's a shift that has to happen. And that's where it comes in with that condescending energy, which is, this is easy for me. I drink 4 liters a day. How is it so hard? And the other person's like, I'm fucking trying, right? Like, I get it's easy for you. It is not easy for me. So then we go back as a coach and say, okay, screw the water thing. I'm going to let that go. What are they willing to do to shift, to move forward towards a healthier life? Let's try a 5-minute journal. Let's try some nature time. Let's are you willing to stay 10 minutes after your session to do some HIIT training on the treadmill? Whatever they're willing to do, that's what you do. And you give positive reinforcement to that. So, yeah, and I just put the Aquarian age for those who are a little bit on the metaphysical side, or a little bit on the woo-woo side, which is the science side. But there's a shift. I mean, no one can deny that. No one can deny this. Trump goes into power, women come up from the basement, and they're like, no, things shift. We have more people running for office who are women, who are indigenous, who are of diversity than ever before. We had the Me Too movement, and this is not just a women-centric thing. This is people waking the fuck up, people quitting their jobs and traveling the world, people who are just like had enough, you know? They're just like, fuck this, like I'm only here once, like God, you know? There's this energy that's happening. People are more interested in self-development. The word of the year last year was self-care. When the fuck has that ever happened? It wasn't hustle, it wasn't make more money, like self-care was the word of the year last year. That's a big difference, right? Work from home, like Tim Ferriss and the 4-hour work week. Like people were interested in biohacking and like being efficient and going on more holidays. We can thank Instagram for that inspiration or what have you, but entrepreneurship, it's glamorized. People want to open up businesses and work for themselves and do their own thing. That's fucking cool. We're in the Aquarian age. The Piscean age is over. Piscean was all about hierarchy and corporate culture and doing everything right and fitting into a box and being accepted and not being yourself. You're weird. You're different. We're going to chastise you for being a little, you know, thinking differently. Now it's cool to be a misfit. It's cool to be a hipster, to like, you know, the back alleyways down different roads and discover things and explore. So when it comes to your career and your effect on human beings, which is the most privileged thing that we can do, is to impact people, you got to decide what side of history you want to be on and how you need to shift your relationship with yourself in order to shift this in others, because that's the key. You cannot empower other people unless you're comfortable empowering yourself. And until you're stopping the body shaming, and still if you're being self-compassionate with the things that you have as non-negotiables, and stop doubting yourself and stop hitting yourself against a brick wall, being like, why can't I do this? I have a willpower issue. I can't lose the 5 pounds. I can't do the one-arm handstand. I can't. It's self-compassion. Like, chill out. It's okay. But until we evolve as human beings, we get to a place where we're accepting ourselves 100%, 100%, then we cannot move into this new era of empowerment. And that's just it, because your body shaming, and you're a role model, like I used to see this all the time. You know, trainers would go up to the mirror and be like, oh, I got this like thing here. And they got like 20 clients who are looking at this trainer who they admire and look up to and like wish they had the body and the mind of this person who's unhappy with their situation. How do you think that makes them feel, these clients feel? Well, I should just give up now, you know? So until we're able and willing and wanting to really work on ourselves and see ourselves, you know, then we can't be in that position of power. And whatever method you do to do that, whether it's a 5-minute journal or plant medicine or traveling the world or just, you know, whatever it is you choose, we all got our own journeys, but just friggin' start it if you haven't already. So that's my rant on that. We're gonna move on now. Okay, trainer typical hang-ups. These are things I see, I'd say, a lot, and things that get in the way of people choosing what they really want. They have self-limiting beliefs, or they have this like blind spot where they're really not sure about it, but it seems scary, so they avoid it at all costs. And yet, with some knowledge and some experience and a little bit of wisdom, that actually would be the direction that they would be best suited to. Okay, first one, sales. Woo. Big dark cloud of sales. Money. A lot of trainers have this idea, a lot of people, because I also speak at Algonquin in the entrepreneurship program, and there's this, you know, for better or for worse, there's this fascination with entrepreneurship, business ownership, doing my own thing, owning my own gig, doing it. And that can be a self-limiting issue, because if it's driven by ego, then it's not going to work. And if it's driven by heart and love and what you're meant to do, it will flourish. But some people are just not suited to entrepreneurship, and they're trying to fit themselves in this round hole, and they can't. And they're not in the right place. They won't flourish because they have this idea that working for myself is better. That's the top. That's the like ideal situation. And the truth is, like 0.1% of the population actually like it. Like I've had business coaching clients in this industry, and you know, when I ask them, so what's the dream? Like what's the end goal here? Like, well, I want to open up my own place. Okay. And then they like analyze like what they like. I get them to design their perfect day. Their perfect day does not include managing any, you know, staff. Doesn't include any admin. Does not include cleaning anything. Does not include, you know, business corporate culture or any networking events with business-centric thing. It only involves clients. I said, okay, you want to own your own thing. but you only want to work with clients. So when you're working 40 hours a week of clients, who is managing and fixing problems? Oh, I'm going to hire someone for that. Oh, so someone without a stake, without any shares, without any of the glamour is going to be a slave to you so you can do what you want. Hey, when you figure that out, you let me know. Sounds like that's the entrepreneur, and you're working in a company that you love as a second, or third, or fourth person. The third person that joined Facebook, do you think they're crying that they're not Mark Zuckerberg? I think they're fucking okay, right? Like, we don't need to be the CEO or the founder or the owner to be fulfilled. So we have to remove this ego thing. And actually, like, what matters is you to go and to reflect inside of yourself. Like, really reflect and say, what do I love to do? What's my perfect day? And if it doesn't include entrepreneurship, the task, the never-ending task that comes with that, like, what kind of books do you like to read? What kind of events do you like to go to? Like, what do you like honestly? You know, what podcast do you listen to? If they're not business-oriented, I have some news for you. You might not like it. That's a big one. Lack of focus. Hopefully with the exercises that we did today, this is going to focus you a little bit more. But a lack of focus is a huge hang-up. There's so many options. So many options. I can do so many things. I have so many opportunities. But a lack of focus ends up being a hang-up because you get paralyzed. You have so many things you can do, so you do nothing. And you don't move the needle in any direction. Does it resonate? What ends up happening, we look for the best deal. We're always looking for a freaking cheap way to do things. We're always focused on the money. We're always trying to analyze our life. We're trying to pay our mortgage all the time. We're living from a place of lack. How can we empower the people that we care about most? And we're always like nervous about, we got this lizard brain that's just like on fire all the time. Trying to eat and have shelter and have sex and eat food that tastes good. Like, you can't get enlightened with that. You can't like live your purpose. You're trying to freaking survive. Right? We don't need any more people who are like on the brink of destruction, teaching other people. There's enough. Stop, you know? Right? Figure your shit out. Like, get in alignment, let things flow, let abundance come to you, work on your friggin' demons, work on the shit that you know that you got quirks and you got things you gotta overcome. But that's a hang up. So I always find that with people who are very focused on the money and I gotta pay my rent and putting on other people. It's like, it's not my issue that you have financial, it's not my thing. This is your thing. You got to figure it out. Hippie or corporate are these two silos in people's brains sometimes. I'm hippie, I want to go with the flow and let creativity enter me and, like, that's where I want to live. And in that comes with, I don't want to invoice people and people are just going to pay on time because they feel like it. And I'm just going to be met with, like, abundance, and an investor is going to come to me, and I'm going to open this thing up, right? Or there are hard asses who are like, I don't believe in luck. It's all me. I got to do everything myself. I got to work up the system. I got to know the right people. I got to make the right connections. I got to steal from Peter to pay John and whatever. We're like hierarchical and, that old way of corporate living. So in our minds, we have this like evil associated with money and business. And then we have this like Zen or lack of competence or like judgment according to like the hippie way of doing things. We've got judgments, we've got pros and cons on both sides, and we're all biased in some way. Some of you are more on one camp than the other, but you have to identify which one you're in, and you have to blend them together. It's okay to like be interested in astrology, but like run a fucking company. And go with the flow and yet work your ass off, and believe that good's gonna come to you, but if something bad happens, not like sit there and surrender, There's a way to do it where both's happening at the same time. You don't have to choose. That's the gift I want to give you today. You don't gotta be on one side or the other. And sometimes it can be confusing if you don't understand it. I had to fire a practitioner, I don't know, 6 months ago, 7 months ago, or something like that. And we'd had deep conversation on spirituality and all that kind of stuff. And she was unfortunately really shocked by it, even though there's been a pattern of behavior. And it wasn't working for her either, but she hadn't seen that yet. And so I was the one to have to bring it up. And unfortunately, she wrote to me, she goes, you know, for someone who's like so spiritual, I don't understand how you could do this, you know? And so that's why people silo themselves. And that's why people undervalue themselves when they're on the hippie side. Because they have this idea of, I gotta give to people who are less fortunate. I have to be, you know, the Buddhist monk I most admire. But the truth is that through spirituality and being hippie, that doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. That doesn't mean I'm a tough ass. It doesn't mean that I'm an asshole. It means there are boundaries in life. There's rules. I gotta live by society. I have to make sure that I pass the food inspection certification so that we can keep the doors open. You know, we can't have donuts drop on the floor and brush them off, and even though that's probably good for the immune system, whatever, we can't. There's rules and there's structure. And my relationship and my love of someone can be separate from our business relationship. And therefore, yes, I'm extremely spiritual. I'm a total hippie granola, absolutely, in terms of how I view life, in terms of my love for human beings, in terms of how I think we can cure the world's problems. But there are boundaries, there are rules, and there is structure. And so we have to work within those things in order for us to get anywhere. So if the corporate side gives you a lot of safety and security, which is why people are typically drawn that way, you know, and the hippie thing is like, oh, I don't know how to navigate that, you know? I don't know how to let the flow come in, and I have a hard time not being tense or whatever your thing is. Just like recognize that. And then there's also the hippie dominant who are like, ooh, rules. Ooh, someone looking at my stuff. Ooh, I gotta do things at a certain time. Right? Notice when you're like pushing away all the societal kind of like structures, because I'm gonna tell you something. Both at their extreme go nowhere. They go nowhere. This is the tyrant Hitler, and this is the like, what's an equivalent? See, we don't even know their name. They're in Amish country somewhere. And this is the thing too, is that the sadness that I feel is that someone who's on this side, who's like loving life and living a nameless, faceless, off social media, you know, health thing, no one knows who the hell they are. You know? What are they building? Where's the money? They need profit. They need money to make change, to build things bigger, to help us all, to inspire us all. Like these people, it's that lack thing. You know? I'm just not gonna wear shoes and travel the world, whatever happens to me, happens to me. Well, fuck, like, good luck. I'm not following you though, right? And this person might, and this side might give you a lot of security. You might have this boss who's like just coming down on you all the time, and the structure is like really heavy. There's no flexibility. We do it this way and this way only, and you're in the system. You know, you're just like doing the hours and like robotically doing the thing. That might give you a lot of sense of security and safety because you feel like at least someone knows what they're doing. But your soul gets drained, you feel like shit every day, you're starting to pee your pants because you're so nervous about every meeting you have with this person, right? Anyways, that's long-winded to say the both can exist together. And your distancing or your bias towards one way of living or not, I'm suggesting that you probably need some elements from the other that are gonna work in your favor, and you gotta get rid of whatever is blocking you from accepting that. So you can actually grow and flourish and actually do what you're meant to do here. And to do it in the best way possible, to affect as many people as possible. Does this resonate with anyone? These like little hang-ups. Is there anything we can add to this? What are your guys' hang-ups? What do you notice as like things that come up for you when we talk about personal training career or moving ahead with an endeavor of some sort?
I think my biggest thing is I work for the city right now, so I have a full-time job. It's cushy, right? Like I go there 9 to 5, I know that I'm getting paid, I know I have that. But the risk that I would be taking on with developing personal training and using, like going for my passion, the risk freaks me out because I don't think that I'm the type of person that could accept that kind of risk.
Okay.
So I get stuck.
Yep. I hear this all the time. All the time. Another way to look at it is the risk is you staying in that job that you don't like. It's the biggest risk for humanity, right? And what is risk really? It's a lack of knowledge, right? So someone who knows how something works and knows the structure of something and has calculated that risk, it ends up being nothing. Like there's this idea that entrepreneurs are like, love risk. We are the most cautious people on the face of the planet. You know why? Because we've distilled all that risk down into what the worst case scenario is, and we've accepted that. I might lose my house. Okay with that. I might lose fame and fortune. I'm okay with that. It might just not fucking work. Okay, but it's worth it. Maybe. If you let go of all the attachments you have to those things, then there's no risk. What are you losing? So I would suggest that, A, my little philosophical, like, that's the risk you're taking is your soul slowly bleeding out of you every day, right? Mixed with, you just need to know more. You need to know more about the structure, about what's the expectation on you, what the different options you have out there, and where you're meant to be. Because when you're meant to be, if you're in the place that you're meant to be, there's absolutely no risk at all. Because when you're in your flow, you're gonna make a shit ton of money. You know, you're gonna have a lot of security. There's something within you that's afraid. So maybe is it money management or not having enough funds or, you know, not having a plan? Like what is the plan for the worst case scenario? Well, I don't have clients for 3 months and I can't pay my rent. Okay, am I willing to move out of the place I'm in right now or Airbnb it or move in with my parents or ask for a loan? Like it's literally strategy. Like what is the worst case scenario? Mapping it out. Once you are okay with that, what's there left to decide? Because the other end of the coin is, how many years are you going to waste your life doing something where you're hurting humanity? You're meant to do something and affect change in a lot of people, and you're just like delaying that of when you can actually do it. You know, I'm not interested in like giving you a presentation. It's not about me. I'm really here to serve you. So however I can help, however I can give you some insights, I'm going to give you a whole general overview of personal training as an industry. I've been in this industry for 15 years, which is like almost half my life. And so I don't really know any other industry, honestly. So, so I have a lot of knowledge that I can give you, and I obviously particularly know Ottawa very well. So I know where certain things fit, and I know where, you know, depending on your personality and what you're looking for and kind of what, you know, gets you up in the morning, there's many different options. And that's what's wonderful about this industry is it's unregulated. Some people think of that as being a bad thing. I think it's a great thing, especially if you're a creative. An unregulated industry means there's limitless possibility. Now, there are dark sides to that, and we'll talk about that a bit. But if you understand it and you know the parameters of it, then you know how to function within it and know how to get what you want out of it. And that way you're here to serve in the best possible way. So I'd love to get to know you. If you can, maybe we'll start with you.
Sure.
And just go through your name and all that stuff.
All right, my name is Joel. I have a personal client here at Caveman. I'm also a casual coach. And what I'm looking to get out of this workshop in one word is more.
Okay. That's a daunting task. More of, okay, I can do that. Okay.
My name is Tasha. I'm in the teacher trainer course. I currently just teach a yoga class in my community.
Okay.
And I'm a registered nurse, like that's my day job.
Cool.
And I guess I want to know, like, how do you put yourself out there?
Okay. I'm going to write this down. 1 second. This will come up later. And you said Tash? Natasha? Okay. Okay. Hello.
I teach group fitness, I guess it's called fitness. I teach upper body, I teach yoga studios in Ottawa. But I'm a retired professional temporary dancer, so I teach So where most of the world is like, mobility is so cool now. That's been my whole life, and I'm trying to add more strengths to the really old people. I'm also a yoga tune-up trainer, so I travel all over the place to teachers. So yeah, I when you said the practicality, that was where I was looking for the practicality of the business side.
Mm-hmm. Great. Awesome.
I'm Tracy. I teach out of a little fitness here in town, so I teach two groups, and then I do have some private classes for that as well. I also teach Karlovits side at this gym. I'll say your name in a second. And I guess I was trying to come up with one word as to what I hope to achieve with this, and I think success. Because a lot of people come in and then they kind of fade out, and I want like growth within it and success with that.
Okay. Great.
I'm Kevin. I think we're friends on Facebook, but I've never actually met you in person.
Likely.
Awesome. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I teach here. I do random, just whenever anything you fill in. I teach a couple classes. I teach hand balancing. I teach acro with Tracy, with this girl. We have a lot of fun. I also teach from Jan's Fit, which is, I guess, freelance, where I teach out of people's gyms if they want a workshop or personal training.
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm looking for is clients.
Okay. Great.
Yeah, one word, right?
Yep. One word.
That's all I can say. Just more clients.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
My name is Kylie. I've taught for Tyler since I was 15, I think. It's been a while. I'm also a holistic nutritionist, which I know you teach at CSI.
Mm-hmm.
Do the business part of it. I do mine online through the business program.
Great.
And I must say the business part of it was absolute garbage.
Shit.
Yeah.
Say it.
You know, throw some like legal things.
Yep.
And yeah, it was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, so nutrition-wise, yeah, I've been doing it for the past 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, and not a week goes by where I don't have this crazy meltdown. And I'm like, oh, I just learned from that moment, right? Like on the business side.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just went through the whole thing with learning about taxes and
Mm-hmm.
you know, so there's so many parts of like running a business that
Yeah.
I wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot through Tyler. I worked with him for so many years now. I do have some personal training clients, and obviously I've grown with them throughout.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's one word, but just like whatever more information I can get.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So you're on the more train with Joelle over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. Okay.
My name's Casey. I was in Tyler's program he's got going on. I own an auto repair shop in the States. I've done it for 15 years, among other businesses that I've had throughout the years. So I understand business fairly well. I just don't know how to, I see an opportunity in our community where we need to train people. I'm here faithfully, just like I'm sure everybody else is, but I just want to be able to help other people. So I guess the one word that I would say is knowledge. I've been in business trainings for forever, but it's just more knowledge in the industry, I guess, is what I would.
Yeah. Cool. Great. Thank you. And you?
My name is Brian. I'm in the teacher training with Lisa and Tasha. Brian was giving us a really good, in-depth education of the fitness side of things.
Mhm.
So I'm just hoping to learn more with the business side.
Great. Cool. And do you work currently within the industry? Okay. You're looking to. Okay. All right. Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Great. It gives me a good perspective. I just, so I have some slides, but a lot of what I want to do is really do like a Q&A, like the majority of what I want to do today. So I'm going to lead you down a path, but then, if you have any questions or whatever, let's be interactive and let's make the most of this and make it as personal to you as possible, because that to me is more of a success than me teaching business at you, because I want to make sure it's relevant. So yeah. All right, I'll tell you a little bit about me just so that you can get some context about why I talk on this topic. So for me, this is kind of my career timeline within the industry. So I went to Carleton University and studied psychology and English literature, which I never put on any slides. It's relevant, but not really. I'm a registered holistic nutritionist through Canadian School of Natural Nutrition. I mostly studied under J.C. Santana in the industry. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him, but he's a functional training expert, I would say, kind of like the father of functional training, the godfather being Gary Gray, I would suggest. And so he's in Boca Raton, Florida. I did a lot of mentorships with him and studied under him for a long time. I've been a personal trainer for 15 years. Personal training was my first entry into healthcare because I came from a competitive athlete background. I was a figure skater for 18 years, did track, Olympic lifting. You know, I was a gymnast since I was 5. So movement and athleticism was in my blood. I just grew up with it. So it was a very natural way to enter into personal training. I got a job as a personal trainer at 18. I wanted a job that paid more than minimum wage. Just so happens personal training pays more than minimum wage. I had been a bartender and a waitress and worked at Shoppers Drug Mart, and I just wanted something that was a little bit more, you know, fun, and wanted to, you know, make sure I can clear my rent every month. So I say that because I never, like most of us, never got into this industry wanting to be a personal trainer. I think so many of us fall upon it, or it just gets introduced to us, or we just naturally go into it, which I think is really interesting, and probably makes it a little bit more authentic than if we went through 10 years of school to be, I don't know, an astronaut or a lawyer or an engineer or something. A lot of us fall into this industry, and I definitely can say that I'm, you know, definitely one of those people. So I started my career at Good Life at 18. I worked at a women's only club for 5 years. My manager, I was just finishing university, I was in my 4th year, and my manager was going on mat leave, and she said, why don't you apply for the fitness manager position? And just to give you some context, my dad is an Air Force major, and I worked at the age of 8, and it was a very, you know, my dad's an immigrant, so it was always about, you know, work hard and get titles after your name and be successful. So I fast-tracked through school and blah, blah, blah. I'm the only child too, so that didn't help. There's no one else to, you know, I got all of the pressure on me. So I just thought, you know, when this management position came open, I thought to myself, there's no way I can tell my father I'm going to be a manager of a gym. Like, after all this education, after all this hard work, after all this academic stuff, you know, I was like, there's just, you know, what am I going to do with my life, you know? And like you may have thought, you know, you can think of this industry as being a very transient industry or being a part-time job when you're in school, but you may not feel it's a career. And so at that time, for me, it was like, I can't have this as a career. I'm not going to be able to pay my rent. I'm not going to be able to have any respect. There's no integrity in this. Like, what am I doing? Of course, I sit here today with slides telling you the opposite of that because it's true. But at the time, I remember thinking to myself, I need to go and do my master's. I need to go and do my PhD. I need to, you know, get a title like my dad told me to be someone significant in the world. But what I was struggling with was the fact that I loved training. Like, it was not work. So it was fun. I was good at it. I loved meeting people. I loved hearing their stories. I loved seeing them go from A to Z in terms of their journey. I loved the gym environment. Sport is what I grew up with. So I was kind of fighting with myself between, do I go after what my heart wants, or do I go back to school and, you know, come out of the university factory like every other robot and just live my life successfully? So as you may know, I chose the heart way. And so I became a fitness manager. I was one of the youngest ones. I was 23 and one of the only female. And it happens to be that I was good at it. So I got some awards, and I was with Good Life for about 8 years, and 3 of which I managed their certain clubs. So I managed a women's only club, then I managed Hung Club, and then I went to Saint Laurent. So that was up until 2011, and then I burnt out, like most of us do from Good Life. You know, I have this tendency to be a workaholic, and I definitely had got a lot of validation and a lot of reward, not only in my heart, but also financially. And I think being a young person, not having known myself and not knowing how to be balanced, I was definitely in this trap of, you know, wanting to be the best. And of course, I was bred that way from my dad, so that was an easy thing to go after. But I started to realize about 6 months prior to me stepping down from my management position that I was just not myself anymore. I was having clients, I was talking about health and fitness, and my passion was disappearing. I was gaining weight, my thyroid was all fucked up, I was drinking so much coffee, I was just focused on sales and numbers, I was losing touch with the people around me, and I just didn't see a future. I got nominated for the second Fitness Manager of the Year award, which is a pretty prestigious award within Good Life because it's nationwide. And so I accomplished that in August, and then I had no purpose. And then I was like, well, I did what I came here to do, and now I'm just tired, and now I have no social life. I haven't seen my family in months. I haven't been to the doctor in 2 years. What the hell? And so I had this existential crisis of what's my future going to be? And so I stepped down from management, and the straw that broke the camel's back was I booked a doctor's appointment, and it was at 6 p.m. on a Wednesday or something. I hadn't been to the doctor in so long. And so I thought, okay, well, I got nominated for this award. I made a ton of money this year. I made everyone around me money. So I'm going to take a little break. You know, I'm not going to perform as high for the next couple months. I'm going to take care of my health. I'm going to reset and feel good. And so, you know, in that environment, if you've ever worked in a very cutthroat environment or very numbers-driven environment, or even sport, right? This is why I identified with this, because I came from a sport background, which was you have a broken hip, you compete anyway. You don't like it, then leave, right? That's what I grew up with. So that's why I thrived in that environment. And so I booked an appointment for a doctor's appointment, and I told my manager at the time, who I'd been working with for a long time, I said, you know, for the next month, I'm going to take it easy and kind of get my health back, and I booked this doctor's appointment, and he said to me, you can't book an appointment during prime time, which is between 4 and 7 at most gyms. You have a sales goal, you've got to hit that sales goal. This is not the time to put the brakes on. And within 15 minutes, my resignation was in his email inbox, because it was just like this spark that, you know what, I am teaching something that is counter to what I'm living, and I can't do that anymore. And so I got phone calls from the VP saying, what the hell, I saw your resignation, what's going on? And that's the thing, and I think, you know, when you follow your heart originally, sometimes you can get lost in the industry, you know, which is ironic in the health and fitness industry, but there's a lot of unhealthy and unfit people within the industry, which is not what we're here to do. So all that to say, I was there for quite a long time. I learned a ton about business. I learned a ton about human beings. I trained a ton of clients from all different backgrounds, and I'm very thankful for that experience. So, you know, I don't regret it one bit. From there, you know, like, I'm so happy you guys are taking Tyler's course, because the thing about this industry is it's never ending, it's limitless in terms of knowledge and education. If you're a learner, if you're someone on earth here to grow, then this industry is endless. You will never, ever run out of things to learn, which is so amazing. So I don't even know how many certifications I have or how many seminars or workshops I've attended, but it's a lot. I put 40, I don't know, it's probably more than that. But the point is specifically for me, functional training has been my forte, or where I've ended up, but I have gone through bodybuilding, Olympic lifting, and you know, more sports specific stuff, and yoga and all that, but that's where I've landed, is functional training. So after I quit, I resigned from management, I became a personal trainer, which was great. I had 4 clients, I was living the dream. I'd saved all this money from hitting all those sales targets. And I was seeing my doctor once every 2 days. I was going to the massage therapist. I was like, I'm going to get my life back. I was journaling for the first time in 2 years. I was trying to get back to my human nature. And I was thinking, having this existential crisis of what am I going to do with my life? Like, if I'm not going to be at the #1 gym in Canada, which Good Life is the #1 gym in Canada, I thought to myself, and at the time, there was not a lot of boutique gyms, you know, Epic didn't exist, and I think Freeform was the only other smaller representation of a gym. And I wasn't a bodybuilder, and I didn't really want to work for anyone else. So I was really uncertain about what I was going to do. I thought I'd go back to school and kind of pick up where I left off, and who knows where I'd end up. And I was training this client for 3 weeks. I met him at a bar. I don't recommend it, but it worked out for me. Ironically, we were there for the Good Life Christmas party, And he was one of the owners of the bar, and he's like, why are you guys all dressed up? And I said, well, we're all personal trainers, and we're having a Christmas party. He said, oh, I'm looking for a personal trainer. And I said, I bet you are, like all the other dudes here. But he actually ended up being serious. So I said, here's my card. If you're serious, call me tomorrow, and we'll set up an appointment. So we set up an appointment. Happens to be, he was a very, very amazing person. He was a physician. He owned a lot of clinics in Ottawa. And he actually was very serious that he was in a transformational place in his life, and he really wanted to take it seriously. So I took that client on, and long story short, within 3 weeks, I got a check of $250,000, and we were opening up a gym together. So 6 months later, we opened up Epic Fitness and Lifestyle. It was just Epic Fitness at the time, and that was September of 2012. So that was kind of like my journey, and of course there's been a journey since then, but that was kind of like how I got started in the industry. And I mean, as much as that sounds like a success story, it sounds very maybe impressive, it's really not for everyone, and a lot of people are not meant to be entrepreneurs. And I think right now there's a glamorization of doing your own thing and being self-employed and owning a facility and all that kind of stuff, but you can talk to Jose and Tyler, and I'll talk your ear off all day. It's not for everyone, you know? And it doesn't mean it's going to be where you shine, because there's a lot of things within the role of entrepreneur in the fitness industry that's not going to resonate with you. That you'll want to do it for the glamour, you want to do it because you want to say you own something. Well, buy a car, say you own that. Like, you know, I think our ego needs to take a back seat, and we need to really understand that we need to be in our zone of genius, and it's not for everyone. I envy my trainers a lot. You know, they get to show up to work and do what they do well and have a good time. They don't have to worry about the pipe leaking or what the landlord's saying or being sued or any of those things, you know, or complaints or, you know, having to take hair out of the shower. They just show up, they do their thing, they have a good time, and they're off on their way, you know. So, but not to say I mean, obviously I don't like all those things, but I enjoy worrying about those things, and that's not for everyone. So as Kylie had mentioned, I am the business professor at Canadian School of Natural Nutrition now, which is a very big passion of mine. I just took over that position in the fall because the business section was freaking terrible. When I graduated from that program, I'm not surprised that most people don't practice nutrition anymore because they didn't know how to get started. They didn't know how to actually bill a client or to, you know, client compliance, or what do I charge, or, you know, how do I get funding for my big idea. It was really terrible. And so I tried to hire a bunch of RHNs. None of them had any clients. I was like, I need to fix this. So I inputted myself. It was non-negotiable. I'm going to be the business professor, and thankfully Natalie said yes. So I teach there throughout the year, and I also teach self-development is my other course there. Anyways, the other stuff is not really relevant at this point. And I want to take you through just some business accomplishments. Again, this is not me bragging. I just want to give you a timeline and sort of a context, so that way if something interests you here, that you can talk to me about it. So after Epic opened, that's when things got interesting. You can only open a business once. Then it's a living, breathing organism, and it's like having a child. It's like constantly, you know, there, and you know, there's people there, like, you know, people are there right now. You know, something could happen, you know? And it has its own essence to it. It's got its own soul. And so it has a life of its own. So I started Epic with two partners. One was my romantic partner at the time, who was a great trainer, and the other one was my investor, who I'd been working with for 3 weeks, and here we were. So in 2014, my romantic relationship with my business partner fell apart. So within 9 months, you learn a lot about, you know, your partner when you work with them. It's not for everyone. C'est pas pour moi. That dynamic did not work. And so it was painful. And we got married, so it was very messy. So it was like 4 months of, you know, feeling like I was having a heart attack in the middle of the night and climbing mountains like a good divorcee does, trying to figure out myself and what the path was and all of that. If any of you have been through that, it's one of the most difficult things you'll do in your life when it's attached to a business that you love with your heart, that you've created. It's like torture. But it ended up being the best thing that happened to me, and I'm very thankful it happened early in my professional career, because it allowed me to learn very fast, and there's mistakes I definitely won't repeat. And if, you know, to be able to speak to a bunch of you who may be going through something, I know what to say. So in 2014, I almost lost it all. You know, I almost went bankrupt. I almost personally went bankrupt. Thankfully, I didn't. Thankfully, the business was saved. But it was definitely a turning point of really understanding that what I created might go away. And if you're in business, you realize that that's always true, that it could disappear. And so in 2014, I ended up buying out my romantic partner when we broke up. So that was a huge success. It was just being able to move on. In 2015, I rebranded from Epic Fitness to Epic Fitness and Lifestyle because we became a lifestyle brand. I was very interested in holistic health and more than training. I was interested in the other aspects of things like self-care and how nature affects us. And you know, I'm a huge hippie at heart, so it was like blending hippie and high performance together was what I wanted. In 2016, I actually bought my investor out, which was an interesting thing. I wanted to grow, and he was sort of in a period of his life where he was downsizing. He was buying off property, and he was liquidating a lot of his money. And so I hadn't needed him. He hadn't walked through the doors in probably a year. I hadn't needed him for a really long time. And so we decided I'd buy him out. He's still my client today. We have a great relationship. But that was a turning point too, because then I was on my own. And that was really scary. I'd had this like comfort zone. You know, I had this like person who, if something went wrong or if I needed him, he was going to be there. Of course, I didn't ever exercise that besides some advice here and there. But taking that carpet from underneath me was a great thing, but it was also scary and frightening. So since 2016, Epic's been just mine, which has been a journey in itself. We grossed $1 million in revenue, which was a huge point for us in 2016. We do a lot of charity work and a lot of things that we do within the community. Community is really important, so we do 36 free community events a year. And we've helped Ottawa raise over $10 million for charity through silent auction items or just being a part of donating cash, whatever it's been. In 2017, I was very thankful to win the 40 Under 40 award, which was a phenomenal accomplishment. You know, in business, it's a very thankless type place because unlike a corporation that has kind of like different levels that you can go to and they've got their own like bonus and positive reinforcement within that company, in terms of the world of the wild, wild west of business, it's a pretty like, you get the odd thank you, but but in the grand scheme of things, there's no like gala that takes all these entrepreneurs, these businesses, and you know, I was very thankful to have this moment where I was able to reflect on the hard times and actually receive an award for it, of all things. So that was really great for not only me, but my family and for my team, and so that was a really special thing. And then 2017, we moved from a 2,000 square foot location to a 5,000 square foot location. We included a clinic and a cafe and a group fitness studio. And we've had our best year yet. We've been there for a year. I have 26 passionate people that work with me that I love them very dearly, and they're all amazing. And our current clientele, we're really focused on entrepreneurs, influencers that are really changing the world and disrupting humanity. I believe Epic is more of a social enterprise. It sounds really hippie of me to say that, but we're here to change the lives of people who are impactful within society and help them be healthy and wise and happy. And if that's the case, then their family's probably going to be happier, their employees are going to be happier, anyone that they touch is going to be happier, and therefore world peace can ensue. So that's that in a nutshell. In terms of like corporate culture, you know, I'm a fan of capitalism. You know, I think profit is what we're here to do because without money, you can't do anything. That's just the end of it. So I help a lot of people through this money mindset stuff, especially in healthcare. You know, a lot of yoga instructors, a lot of people who are here to help people feel that they're here to be a martyr, and I am anti-martyr. I think it's important to help, but I think you got to know your worth. And you also have to understand that you guys are the most important people in this next generation, hands down. I don't care who you think is going to be more important. As personal trainers and healthcare providers in the private sector, things are changing. Conventional medicine, it's doing its job, but it's not helping a lot of people on the chronic side. It's not helping a lot of people in terms of their mindset shift. It's keeping them sick. It's keeping them small. It's keeping them unhappy. So we're here to wake people up. That's really what I believe. I believe as trainers, we have the best shot at it too. So I also, in terms of like a company culture, I think work should be the easiest thing you do all day. Might be weird to say, but I believe that. And I think if everyone loves what they do, and if they're in their zone of genius, then that's the case. Whether you're a janitor or you work in the government or you're an accountant, what if everyone just loved what they friggin' did? What if we plucked all the people who hated their jobs and put them in the jobs that they wanted to be in, and we moved those people over here? Wouldn't that be a better society? Would we not get cut off in the middle of traffic or given the finger or, you know, like someone giving us a dirty look? Like, I think the world would be a better place. And so certainly, you know, if you're in this industry and you love what you're doing, I think there sometimes can be this belief that, you know, maybe I should get a real job. You know, I can't just have fun my whole life. I can't just be a trainer until I'm 50. Why not? What do you mean you can't be happy until you're fit? Like, what do you mean? Well, you're not going to be fit enough? You're not going to be happy? Like, you know, we have this idea that work's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be, we're supposed to dread it. It's supposed to come with a pension. I mean, I know a lot of unhappy, golden handcuffed government employees being in Ottawa. And, you know, I don't think it's worth it. And, you know, there's a lot of people who are personal trainers who are not in the right position. They need to work in the government. That's the thing. It's not the industry that's good or bad. It's really about what you want and what makes you happy, but not feeling bad about that. And another thing I'll say on that too, just because something comes easy to you does not mean it's valuable. So just because you can count to 10 backwards and you know exactly what program design to do for a client, and it comes easy to you, does not mean that's not worth anything. It means you're in your zone of genius, and what comes easy to you, people will give you millions of dollars for. It should be easy for you. You shouldn't be like laboring and sweating. I mean, maybe for the first little bit until you learn, but after 10 years, or 5 years, 2 years, 1 year, you should be like, let's do a training program right now. I can see your body, I know exactly what's going on. That's your talent. So a lot of people in healthcare, yoga, training or whatever, we have this like guilt about living a happy life, doing what we're meant to do, living differently than our parents or our family does. And we have this guilt about, well, it's easy for me, so therefore I should charge less. No, 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 no. It means you are the most, you're in your talent, which means anyone that has the luxury of working with you is getting the best because they've got your time. And people are unhappy. We're in a society where people are very disconnected from their bodies. What you offer, you're offering a life change. You're offering happiness. You're offering people to stay in their marriage. You're helping, like, this is stuff people would kill for. You have to remember that. I think philosophical alignment is crucial for whatever you end up doing. You have to be philosophically aligned with it. Aligned with the company, aligned with the person you work for, aligned with your colleagues, aligned with the zone within the industry that you're going to occupy. That is very important. One of my things, having come from a burnout and being in a company where my health was of their no concern. It was what I could do and what I could achieve that was the most important, which I think, you know, is a societal problem. But I learned from that, and thankfully I did, because the way I believe is my trainers and my clients, not my clients, my staff, their health is my biggest asset, and therefore I need them to be healthy. I need them to be sound of mind. I need them to be happy. I need them to be in their zone of genius. So I believe that everyone has their own seat on the bus, and if they're on the right seat, then we can go anywhere. So, you know, I have trainers who, you know, I need to tell them to take a day off. I have to tell them to shift gears when it comes to certain clients, that this is not your clientele. You know, it's painful for you. So, like, let's move them on to someone else. And who do you want to serve? You know, in those kinds of conversations, again, it's the idea that work needs to be hard. You know, where it's like I gotta fight through. I gotta do what I'm weak at. I have to do the thing that I hate, and I don't believe that. Yeah, I already said that, but I think personal trainers are the most important people in the next generation. I'll tell you why. In healthcare, we are the only service providers that will see our clients 2 to 3 times a week for a long time. So in terms of influence, we have the most influence on human beings in healthcare. You don't see your massage therapist twice a week. You don't see your psychologist twice a week. You don't see your family physician twice a week. Who else do you see twice a week? Or even if you have a client once a week even. I mean, you're seeing them more than they see their mother. You have a lot of influential power there. And so it's not just about training, but you're also there to wake them up. I call it good brainwashing. Which is what, let's make no mistake, that's what we're doing constantly. Body washing and brainwashing. Because we want people to live a better life. So that's my stance. I think personal training is the most important thing you can do. Okay, today these are things I want to talk about with you and discuss. I want to give you a layout of the industry. What is your philosophy and mission? When I say philosophical alignment, you might be like, what are you talking about? What is your philosophy on life? What's your philosophy on healthcare? What's your philosophy on, I'm kind of sharing with you what my philosophy is, which I think everyone's asleep and we need to wake them up. But you might be like, oh, that's a nice idea, but actually I'm here to serve mothers who are struggling with prenatal, postnatal. That's my mission. That's my philosophy. My philosophy is that women need to be nurtured, or my philosophy is that everyone should be able to do a one-arm handstand. Whatever your philosophy is, we need to find it. That way we can align you with the right company, person, place, thing. That way you can be in your zone of genius and be healthy and happy and make a shit ton of money and a lot of profit and change the world. We're going to do a little workshop exercise on that. What side of history do you want to be on? Typical hang-ups with trainers. Can we do this as a career? Nice big question there. Money and fulfillment, and then bulletproofing your future. Any questions so far? Good? Okay. So, as a personal trainer, you really have, I would say, 5 options, but I put 4 down. One is one that I won't touch on much, which is online, if you want to train people online. I'll give you my opinion of it, but, and if you have any specific questions about it, I can answer them, but I didn't include that. So you can be a group instructor, a one-on-one personal trainer as an employee working in a company, a one-on-one personal trainer as a contractor, where you rent space and you have your own clients and your own business, and a one-on-one personal trainer where you're self-employed. You work out of your garage, you have your own space. Maybe you're renting from a landlord, not renting from an owner of a gym, but you work for yourself. There's pros and cons to all. There is no perfect situation unless it's perfect for you. And that's what we're trying to figure out today. If I can get you a little bit further along on that journey, or maybe spark some ideas or give you some insight, that's really a success for me. So we're going to go through each one, and I'd love to discuss it with you. So group instructor, so maybe you're doing kettlebell classes, yoga classes, workshop style stuff. Maybe you're doing certifications. You're basically in a group format. You're coming in, you're teaching your thing, and you're leaving, and you're doing, group. So some pros: exciting, high energy, lots of variety. It's fun. You have a wide social reach. So if you're looking to amass an audience for a particular cause, if you're kind of like me, like a social enterprise type person or an activist, you're trying to change something in particular, it's a really great way to do that. You get to touch a lot of people. It's more money per hour, typically. On the con side, typically I find with group instructors is that they're traveling all over the place. Like I specifically think of yoga instructors. I've had lots of conversations with many yoga instructors, especially in Ottawa, and they're running around with their head cut off. They're in traffic, they're in the snow, and they're trying to, they don't have a home location. So then some people, maybe work at 3 different locations or maybe 2, but even so, there's travel. There's something involved in there that, they don't have kind of a home, so to speak. There's no job security. So oftentimes I'm seeing a lot of group instructors having no contract. They don't have this job security, where maybe the rule of the facility is if you don't fill your class to this capacity, your job is threatened. Or the group class schedule change and sorry, you're off it. It's like, holy shit, that's really terrifying, where someone can just do that, And I see a lot of bad behavior with employers who engage in this, where they're not paying out severance when they should be, they're not having a proper contract. So there's really a loss of job security is a big thing. Less impact. So I know I said wide social reach, but less impact. So the impact I mean is the quality of the time that you spend in the journey of someone's life. So if you're seeing a client twice a week or 3 times a week for 2 years, what do you think you get out of that? How much impact do you think you have on that person's life? A ton. How much wisdom do you think that you have about that person's body, about that person's movement patterns, about that person's particular digestive system. You know that person better than you know your spouse. You know, you really are able to take that person psychologically, biochemically, biomechanically, from point A, that minute that they start working with you, all the way, hopefully accomplishing all these goals and maybe accomplishing things that they never even thought possible, and taking them through every season, through their seasonal affective disorder in the winter, through the spring when they're motivated, through the summer when they want to wander and eat bonbons, through the fall when they get more excited and they have a new goal. Like, you are able to see this full season of people going through death and divorce, and you know, you're really with them during their life. And that's hugely impactful, hugely impactful. So if you're really like, as a trainer, you're like, I want to make impact in the world, I want to make a difference, then I would suggest that one-on-one is definitely the place to do that. Group feels good, but I know any of you group instructors in here understand the frustration of, you got 30 people in a class, 20 people in a class, and you're like, if I could just take your shoulders and like do just come with me for 10 sessions, or like, you want to do more, you want to, you know, get deep with people sometimes, and sometimes you just can't. It's just not possible. It's not part of the way it works. And also, you've got lots of people in that room that are maybe not candidates for one-on-one. They don't want you to touch them. They don't want to go through that journey. So the impact you can get in a one-on-one situation is far more, which means it's less experience. You know, if you don't know who you have in your class that day, it's tough to prepare. It's tough to be really deep on certain topics. So what ends up happening in group instructing is that you end up going deep with your own practice because you have this thirst for knowledge and understanding. But unfortunately, what happens is you don't have a wide variety of anecdotal evidence. When you work one-on-one with a bunch of different body types, a bunch of different psychological states, a bunch of different ages, a bunch of different genders, the wisdom you get bringing all those types of people through a process, you become very wise. It's like an incubator for understanding. You can look at someone on the street and be like, yep, got it. You can ask 4 questions, you know exactly their whole health profile, you know exactly what they need. So one-on-one affords that. And then with group instructing, another thing I hear a lot is they've got to be on. You got to be excited, you got to be like raring to go, you're like the star, right? And some people love that. I have a group instructor, Ashley, who's like, she is Beyonce. Like, she's just, I don't know how, but she's just on every freaking time. And every time I talk to her about one-on-one, she's like, no, I don't think so. Because she wants the music cranked, and she like gets all this energy, and it's just, that's her zone of genius. So, and it's not for everyone. Some of you might have experienced this where it's Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and you haven't slept, or you're going through a tough time. You're just like, I really wish I could just hide in the corner, you know, and like do my job, but like not be the center of attention. So that could be a con or a pro, depending on who you are. Any questions about this? Anything anyone wants to add to the pro side? What do you like about it? Those of you who are group instructors.
For me, I like the social aspect of it. In terms of, like, yeah, I have a stage, I don't. I don't want to go in and be on stage. I always talk about, like, that I'm on stage.
Yep. Yep.
But I come from performance background. So the show must go on. Like,
yep.
shows are broken, bleeding in your shoes, you still go out. And so I go and I teach, and then I feel so much better.
Yeah.
There is a reciprocal making eye contact with people, and I'm a pretty lighthearted teacher, so we do laugh, and there's always the regulars that are also going through their stuff, and I'm allowed to be a little bit more real. I can perform you, but I'm performing a real version of me.
Yeah.
So I do feel like I get that from my group classes.
Yep.
I do get that from one-on-ones also.
Yeah.
So
But there's like it's kind of a bigger energy pool that you get.
But I think
Yeah.
it comes from my performance background anyway.
Totally.
Right.
Totally. Yeah, you're used to that for sure. Yeah, great. Okay, one-on-one as an employee. So I want to tell you about, you know, when we think of like being a personal trainer as an employee, we think of the big box situations, right? We think of Good Life, we think of Movati, we think of Anytime Fitness. Well, not Anytime Fitness is an employee, but we think of those two, right? So, and I just told you a horror story. Like, you know, it was very good, very bad, both together. Learned a lot, made a lot of money, got a lot of achievements, learned a lot about business, learned a lot about corporate culture, learned a lot about how things work from a very high level in terms of like, you know, industry stuff. mixed with, you know, burning out and not feeling good in my body and feeling like at 24 years old that I was 50, you know, I lost so many social relationships and all that stuff. But you know, I want to emphasize that that was my choice. I didn't have the tools. I had not developed the balanced lifestyle to have been able to, you know, to manage that. So I don't blame anyone, but knowing it was just something that I went through. But being an employee can also mean a boutique style enterprise. So not everyone chooses that business model. At Epic, we have employees, and we also have independent contractors, and we also have group instructors. So we've got this like 3-pool type situation where it depends on the person. It really does depend on the person. They're all really wonderful expressions. It just depends on your lifestyle habits, what you want, and what you value, and which place, you know, is meant for you. On the employee side, though, things to consider. On the pros, we've got more impact. I talked about one-on-one being, if you're really looking for a deep, deep, deep connection and impact, that's the place to get it. More experience. Again, we talked about wisdom. Job security. When you're an employee, you're paying into EI, you're paying CPP, it's being matched by your employer. You're a legit employee, right, in this society. Another thing I didn't put on there, but employment benefits is something to consider too. Critical illness and life insurance and naturopathic care and massage and all that kind of stuff to maintain your health and feel good, which is also matched by the company, which can be very advantageous. You typically have one location, you show up to one place, you've got one team, you've got one thing to do that day, so that can be very good. Other people hate that, but that's something that could be a pro. Very career oriented, there's usually like a structure and kind of a way to work yourself up. You know, they've got certain achievements and education that you need to get, and maybe you have to do a performance review or be mentored by someone who's more experienced than you. So there's definitely this like baked in kind of like structure to work up in order to make more money, in order to have more influence, and to end up working with who you want to work with, to build a personal brand, to be able to have more reach or whatever. Usually bonuses involved in some capacity with any kind of corporate organization. The team environment's really important. You know, your colleagues and you work together. For me, team has always been very important. I went right from working at Good Life to opening my place with employees. I didn't think once for 1 minute that I was going to rent space out or work out of my garage. It just wasn't for me. I just knew that I needed to work with people. I love people so much, and I love colleagues, and I love collaboration, that for me, that was very important. Where someone else is like, no, no, I'd like to work out of my house and don't bother me. Like, this is my place, right? So, but what I hear from a lot of freelancers and group instructors sometimes is that they really do miss that team. They really miss like bouncing ideas off of each other and actually watching other people work within the space and feel like, hey, that's my colleague and I love what they're doing and I'm gonna be inspired by that. There's mentorship. We take this for granted a lot when it comes to employee kind of situations, but there's a lot of free mentorship, a ton of free education. You're being taught by someone. You've got this mentor who's got so much more experience than you and lots of wisdom, and they're teaching you every day. When you're a freelancer and independent contractor, you pay for that shit. You gotta go to a course, you gotta go to a mastermind, you gotta go into a business group, you've gotta buy books, you gotta learn on your own. There's a baked-in mentorship that we can take for granted. It's like, it's like when we're in our 30s and we're like, wow, my parents really taught me a lot. But when you're in it, you don't appreciate it, So that's something to consider, and some things that we kind of just like slough off sometimes. Processes. There's a way to do things. Come on in, you're an employee, here's your employment manual, here's your health and safety check, here's code of ethics, here's your consultation form, here's the email, there's someone to answer the phone at the front desk. Like, just do what you do and we'll take care of the rest. There's processes in place, which not everyone's a process person when they work for themselves. Kyle, you mentioned before about taxes and learning how to like navigate all this stuff and invoicing. Some people like that stuff, some people are like, whoop, or some people were just never taught. So, that's something to consider, is the fact that you get a T4, it's really nice and clean, you bring it to H&R Block, and it's done. Whereas you work for yourself, a little bit different. And there's a process for the client. When the company cares about whether it's a boutique company or it's a corporate company, they're really focused on the client, which means they're giving client perks. They've got an operations system. They've got an app maybe for them to book their sessions. There's a customer experience type thing that happens that you don't have to worry about as an employee. You are a part of that process, but you don't make it from scratch. You don't have to think like, okay, the person walks in, is there a table here? Like, there's a table when you walk into this place. Who do you think thought of that? Right? Jose was like, we need a table. People need to have an iPad. People need to have a chair, right? Like, there's people who think of that stuff, and there's people like, I don't care. I just want to show up, and I want everything ready for me. And I want the process to have been already done. I just need to believe in it. On the con side, alignment is essential. There's a ton of people who are employees in companies they freaking hate. They're bitter every day. They hate showing up. They talk smack about it all the time. It's like killing them inside. But the pay is good, and I get EI or CPP paid to me, and I get right? We rationalize all this stuff. How many people know of trainers who are working in a company they don't like? Or working with people they don't like? You know? To me, it's mind-boggling because personal training is amazing. Like we're not working at a freaking desk being a robot. Like, shouldn't we love what we do? Like, we're off the beaten path. We didn't choose that traditional thing. We're not accountants sitting there counting numbers. We're not, you know, working out of a factory or doing factory work. Like, we're trainers. Like, we should be absolutely thrilled about it. But what happens is when you work in the wrong place, in the wrong environment, there's no difference between having golden handcuffs in the government or having golden handcuffs as a trainer in a corporate environment or in a company you despise. That kills your soul, and it makes you a really shitty trainer, and you're just passing your bad vibes to all people. And that social mission I told you about, well, you're the problem. You're part of the problem. The other side is when you're in alignment with where you are. You believe in the person who's at the helm of the company you work for. You believe in your colleagues. You believe in the mission. You're happy to go to work. That should be the way we all live life. So sometimes in an employee kind of situation, people are unhappy with that. And they should have left a long time ago. And trust me, I worked with a lot of those people. And I still know a lot of them within that environment. And it gets more and more tough the longer you stay because it becomes a way of life. You just hate it, and that's the way it is. So it depends on where you work. Maybe sales heavy, you know, Movati, Good Life, those types of places. They, you know, may not, again, alignment is important. What do they value? Do you value what they value? And if you don't, then you've got to find somewhere that does. You don't choose your own clients. It's really general population. You don't know who you're going to get. You might get someone with diabetes, you might get someone who's post-cancer treatment, you might get someone who's 400 pounds, you might get someone who wants to gain muscle or do an arm balance. Like, you're getting all these types of people from all different walks of life in so many different ways. And that could be a really wonderful thing, but you don't choose your clients, you take them. So there's something to be said for being able to choose your clients. And that may or may not be a value of the company you work for. For me, I want my trainers to work with who they want to work for. Who is your avatar? Who do you want to serve? Just women? Great. Just men who want to gain muscle? Awesome. Just people who want to work with kettlebells? Great. Then you should do that. So if someone comes in and they're a weight loss client and I have a trainer who's all about weight loss, they're going to them. I want them to be in their zone of genius. But in some companies, that's not the case. It's just you take whoever walks in. And then there's a system. So again, if you're not aligned with the system, if you don't believe in the system, then it's going to be hell. It's going to be a con. Okay, contractor. So I told you we have independent contractors. So I have my group of employee trainers that have our processes, our systems, our methods. There's a level system. You know, there's job security there and all that stuff. Then there's independent contractors, and they do a split with us. So they are philosophically aligned. That's non-negotiable. We don't rent space out to just anybody. There's a whole process there. But some people are not, they're still under the umbrella of holistic healthcare and movement and functional training, and they believe in the same things we believe in, but their methods are different. And when the method is different, then they're an independent contractor, which means as a human being, we're all on the same page, but how you do it's a bit different. So then you're on the independent contractor side with us, And if you're like, I'm functional training, I'm all about, you know, exactly what you guys are doing, and I want to build that and I want to use that, then they're likely going to be on the employee side. With independent contractors, though, we don't give them any clients. It's their own business. They do their own thing. So a client walks in, that's going to one of my employees. I feed the family first, and then I worry about the other, my second cousin. So I still support my independent contractors, but the difference is it's really their own thing, and that's the pro of it. They don't want little mama bear coming over and like telling them how to run their shit. It's their business. I respect that. Do we have coffee, and do we chat, and do we collaborate, and do I help or mentor? Absolutely. But I'm respectful of the fact it's their own business. They are respectful of the fact it's their own business, and that's a really big distinguisher. A pro with being an independent contractor is my independent contractors get to work with a team. So they're not working in the sense that they're teaching the same things in the same way, like my employees are, but they're part of the team. They get to walk in and joke with the clients, and they know everyone by name, and it's still a fun atmosphere. Whereas, we'll get to the next slide, but as someone who's self-employed, works by themselves, it's different. They're working by themselves. You get admin support. Your clients run through the same operation system. If they call the gym, someone answers and it's not them. There's you know, credit card processing and things like that that are already embedded within the system that, again, you don't have to worry about as a contractor, likely. Now, that's different for every facility. If you're an independent contractor and you're renting space, it's a bit different. And there's different, like, you know, nuances within that. For us particularly, we outsource all admin, and that's part of the deal that our independent contractors get. But it's not the case everywhere. So something to keep in mind. There's a structure in place. There's toilet paper in the bathroom. There's, you know, there's a cleaning service that comes in. There's stuff in place that you don't have to worry about, which is a pro. On the con side, you know, it's all you, it's all you. Depends on the person. Some people are like, yes, it's all me. Some people are like, it's all me. So it depends. I talked about this, mentorship. Yeah, I go for coffee with my independent contractors. I care about them a lot. I want them to succeed. I want to collaborate with them. I want to help them any way that I can. And I'm really interested in what they're doing and the work that they're up to, but I'm not mentoring them. I'm not giving them this, you know, 400-page manual on functional training and, you know, giving them, you know, staff conferences and, you know, employment benefits and all this stuff. They pay for that. They have their own people that they look to, or they pay to come to our Epic Life conferences that are meant for staff. They can pay to join. And they can do consulting with me, but I charge them. So there's that mentorship part, that piece, that's really key. You own your own business. That could be a con, could be a pro. But on this side, you know, like I said, when it comes to clients, it's all you, baby. You gotta network, you gotta create your funnels, you gotta find, you know, what your philosophy is, what your brand is, who you're gonna teach, and how you're gonna get those clients. That's all you. And admin risks, you know, no one's gonna come in and save the day. I got a trainer that's sick, you know, their clients are taken care of. Client, yeah, we'll figure it out. We've got 15 other trainers to help you out, right? I'm helping. You know, you call the front desk, you call me, I got your back, right? On the independent contractor side, ain't nobody's got your back. It's you. You know, you got good friends, you've got good family, all that kind of stuff, but it's different. Okay, self-employed. This is like you working out of your house, or let's say you're doing boot camps, or you know, out of the park, or whatever. Pros, it's all you, your own business. I mean, the independent contractor that I've got working with us, you know, he is developing a whole process and a whole system, and he's similar to me in that he's got a path, he has a mission. He knows how he wants to help people, and it's very laden with, you know, neurological stuff and a lot to do with helping people with concussions and all that kind of. That is his thing. He's fixated on. That's what he wants to do. So he's got his own path. You know, he's creating his own program, his own intake form, his own, you know, assessment tools, his own stuff for those particular clients. It's very different from our intake process, but he's got a different approach. And so he's building his business for himself, and maybe one day he's going to have people work underneath him. So it's all him, and, you know, he owns his own thing. The con. It's all you. Again, depends. It can be lonely. It can be lonely. So you don't have someone looking over your programming and giving you tips. You don't have someone saying, hey, I noticed you did this on the floor. Tell me about, why you're doing that in a curious way. Let's talk about it. Let's collaborate. Let's figure it out together. And it can be lonely in the sense that there's something to be said for a group of people working towards a common goal. Feels really good. If you've ever been in team sports or like teams where you've really gelled with people, some people really love that. And some people really don't love that. But loneliness can be a thing. You own your own business, admin risk, your own process. And it's very different on this side too, where if you're an independent contractor and you work in a gym environment, you're working on your own, but you're really amongst a lot of people. And a lot of us are in this because we love people. And so when you remove that, you only see certain clients that are coming into your basement every day, it can be very lonely. So something to consider and keep in mind.